computer recording ครับก็ welcome to thailandtoday.co and Tech to Thai and Tech to ASEAN on Facebook ครับวันนี้ผมก็อยู่กับคุณท็อปจิรายุนะครับso thailandtoday.co and Tech to Thai and Tech to ASEAN are English website นะครับ for technology and other news in Thailand and other countries. So today we're going to talk about Thailand's restarting for business following a lockdown lasting more than 1 month and 1 week. Actually, we are now in the 6th week of being locked down here in Bangkok and other provinces here in Thailand. So the government already introduced the first relaxation of returning to normal. So this is a very big issue, and there are technology and other points that we have to discuss as we starting the first relaxation on Sunday, May the 3rd, on this Sunday. So the government said we're going to observe the situation for 14 days. And after that, a new decision will be made. And today I have a guest, Kun Topp Jirayut from BitCup. He's a technology expert. And we've been talking about technology on work from home, that another series. And this series is Thailand starting for business. So, สวัสดีครับ คุณท็อป
Hello, thank you for having me again.
ครับ คุณท็อป it's very big news for many people. Everyone is hopeful that we have a chance to return to some degree of normalcy. I would like you to start with an overview. What is the big picture of restarting business in Thailand, please?
Sure. Let me give you a quick macro overview of the current situation. Right now, I think we are undergoing the largest unemployment in the history of the world. Almost 30 million Americans lost their jobs within the last 6 weeks. And we have never seen anything like this. The last, similar event was back in almost 100 years ago. That was back in the Great Depression time in 1929. That's when about 3% of the global population lost their job. And within 1 year, from 1929 to 1930, the unemployment rate went from 3% to 6%. And then we had this last recession in 2008, the global financial crisis. Back then, banks took excessive risk due to poor risk management. And all of a sudden, Lehman Brothers Bank went down. There was a huge number of people out of work. And, after those people got laid off, that was it. There's no thought of actually going back to that company because that bank is gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within this current crisis, I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago, the global unemployment rate was 3%. But now, after 3 weeks, we went up to more than 10%. In the 100 years ago, it took the previous generation 1 year to go from 3% to 6% unemployment rate. But currently, it took us within a matter of weeks to go from 3% to 10%. So this is quite serious. But what I'm trying to tell everyone here is that this crisis is different from the 1929 crisis or the 2008 crisis. The reason why people lost their job in 1929 was maybe because of the shift in production pattern from the wartime production to consumer production. So it took time for the companies to adjust their productivity, the machinery to produce consumer goods. But in 2008, that's when banks took excessive risk and Lehman Brothers went down, right? But this time it's different. Right now, there are more people, that lost their jobs, more than 30 million people. But these people are the people that are working in bars, right, and restaurants, and and in retail and similar jobs. But these companies are they might have been very profitable. They might, it's not their fault, but they have to lay off their workers because of the shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
But this is different because if the biological issue or the health problem has been solved, they can reopen their businesses anytime, and these people can go back to work. The company is still there. It's different from 2008, where that bank, Lehman Brothers, was no longer there to go back to. Right? So it is very important that we get the policies right at the government level for the companies to survive. Right? If the governments are quick to react, they need to bail out people. The government needs to bail out people, and the government needs to bail out SMEs. Those companies that were very profitable, but has been frozen because of the lockdown. And SMEs and small companies account for more than 90% of the
Yes.
working population in Thailand, of the workforce in
Mm-hmm.
Thailand. We need to protect these companies to make sure that when the health crisis is over, people can go back to their existing work before. So this is a health crisis followed by a shutdown. This is not the, structural economic problem like 2008, where banks took excessive risk, right? And, finance can cure finance, but finance cannot cure biological problem. They are two different things, and speed matters.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the last week, few weeks, I think the U.S. government signed off the stimulus package bill to it was at the end of March to bail out small companies and people, right? And we've got about 350 billion in bridge financing to small businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not enough, because we need to the funds needs to be deployed quickly in a matter of weeks. If we take months, companies will go out of business soon, because I think within a few months, SMEs are running out of cash. So the government reacts very quickly in providing bridge loans, right, to bail out companies that they might have been very profitable before the shutdown.
Could talk in the case of the Thai government, what is the performance so far in bailing out businesses, big and small, in your opinion, for Thailand?
Sure. I would say the experience is not as great. There is a lot of errors, margin of errors. Because the main reason is because we're not quite there yet in terms of technology for the distribution of payments. For example, in 2008, when the government bailed out banks, it was very easy to call up 25 CEOs, banking CEOs, in one room, and hand them checks. Here's your checks. In one room, 25 people. That was easy. But this time, government needs to bail out companies, 90% of the economy, SMEs, and the people, right? And for example, in Thailand, we're handing out this 5,000 baht benefit to the people. But without a good system, people are complaining. There is, people complaining everywhere that, I should be the one that deserves the 5,000 baht. Subsidiaries from the government, but didn't get that money. But instead, some people that didn't really deserve the money ended up with that 5,000 baht because the system is not ready. This is bailing out at the people's level. But if you look at the company's level, if the government to take the next step, right now the Bank of Thailand is issuing out bridge loans, soft loans, to extend the runways of SMEs that are running out of cash soon. But the only way that the government can do this is to go through commercial banks, right? Not every companies in Thailand can go to the Bank of Thailand. The commercial banks must be responsible to give out bridge loans, right? To distribute the bridge loans to SMEs to bail them out. But the issue is that the current system is not great in terms of technology. It takes time for the commercial banks to do due diligence, to study the companies properly. Did this company deserve the fund? Did this company should this company get the fund? Should he not get the fund? So it takes time for commercial banks to assess the risk. But this crisis, we cannot wait for months. The funds has to be deployed within a few weeks maximum, because in a few months, SMEs will run out of cash, and they are crucial to our supply chains. So banks in Thailand are now accepting this margin of error in exchange of time, because they cannot wait for long. They must accept a margin of error by giving out loans to some companies that didn't really deserve the funds, but in exchange of time, because we need to act quickly, right? So I think this is the current issue in the Thai market, in the Thai economy. The government is trying to bail out people this time at the bottom half of the economy, but we haven't got the system to distribute funds effectively in a timely manner. Or when the government tries to bail out small companies, which is 90% of the economy, we haven't got an appropriate system to distribute funds. We have to do it via commercial banks, and these banks would take quite a few months.
What technology can solve this problem from your point of view?
Sure. So I think the first technology that would help for sure is digital currency, right? If you think about it, if we are still using paper money, people would need to line up, on the street, and this is not great in terms of during this time infection, right? They're risking their lives to get infected, to get this 5,000 baht. And with the paper money system, you cannot track. There's no accountability of who should be getting the funds, who should not be getting the funds. You cannot trace any of the transactions effectively. With the arrival of Libra or digital yuan for China, right? They're creating their own digital currency, or even in America, Libra is pushing. If we have digital currencies in place, we can, in a matter of seconds, distribute the 5,000 baht to the appropriate group of people. We can tag them by, tax ID or national ID, and within a matter of seconds, these people would get the money right away. So this is a very good, system to distribute the funds, but we need to convert cash or money to go fully digital first.
Do we have any kind of digital baht at the moment, and what if there is no prospect? What is the action that the Bank of Thailand should do about digital currency?
Sure. I think the Bank of Thailand is working on the digital baht right now. They currently have a team of 30 people working in a new team. That they set up a new team called Digital Currency Team, or Internon team, right?
Yeah.
And right now they're hiring more developers to join the Bank of Thailand, and I think almost everywhere, nearly almost every central banks around the world are secretly studying or researching about cryptocurrencies. I think even the head of IMF or the World Bank came out and said, if your central bank is not exploring, or is not researching into cryptocurrencies, you're too late. This is too late. You have to act now, right? So I think a lot of central banks around the world are secretly exploring, researching, or at least have a team to study, or doing proof of concepts on digital currencies now. But a clear example is China. They're moving so fast. There's a few pictures leaked out on the internet of the user experience of the digital currency app, and they're now testing their digital yuan on 4 districts, 4 provinces in China. And I think one of the provinces, they started to pay the workers 50% of their paychecks of their salary in cryptocurrency, in digital yuan now. And 19 companies in China are joining this this beta test project, and they're very fast.
How the money is used, could talk in China, digital yuan, how the receiver use that digital currency?
There's an app that's so digital yuan is created on the blockchain, right? Could be a consortium or private chain
Mm-hmm.
by the People's Bank of China, a government bank, right? And then different commercial banks or social banking's app like WeChat, Alipay, Tencent, JD, and different commercial banks in China, they can develop an app on top of this digital yuan, and people can use different apps. The user experience can be different, right? User interface can be different, but the underlying technology is blockchain, and people can transfer remit fund across different applications.
Hmm. What about the value of digital yuan is the same to fiat money, paper money in yuan?
Yes, it's actually just it is acting as purely a digital representation of the physical yuan, meaning that every digital yuan issued, there must be a physical yuan in a one-to-one ratio manner pegged in a saving account at the Central Bank of China. So they always pegged the value of digital yuan to a physical yuan in a one-to-one ratio manner.
So,
right? So you cannot call it inflation.
So this is the same thing that the Bank of Thailand is working on, right? For digital baht or the internal project.
Yeah. So there are 4 different phases that we are working for Thailand. Right? The Central Bank of Thailand is working on. For the first phase, what the Bank of Thailand did was that they created the Internon project, a private blockchain called Corda. They're working with a group called R3CEV, and they're creating this private blockchain or consortium blockchain that is used between commercial banks to solve the interbank transaction issues. Currently, we're using this botnet system that came out in when the internet first arrived. When you're transferring money on Friday, the money arrives on Monday because this central bank doesn't work on weekends, right? This is the botnet system. But with the blockchain system, the different commercial banks can transfer funds between each other without relying on the intermediaries or the central bank. They're
no
using
holidays. No holidays.
Yes. So when you're transferring money on Friday, the money arrives on Friday. Saturday, the money arrives on Saturday. You do not need to wait, for the weekends or for the funds to arrive on Monday. So that was the first project that we did, in Thailand. The second phase was that they did the digital bonds with the Ministry of Finance, and my company helped on the first phase also to create a mobile app interface, digital bonds project. So we are digitizing government bonds and corporate bonds from paper based to digital based interface, and they're now in the POC phase. In the future, the ticket size for participating into the government bonds or corporate bonds would be very small. Currently, when we want to participate in the government bonds or corporate bonds, we need to have at least 100 million, 200 million ticket size in order to participate, right? But with this arrival of digital bonds, the ticket size can be very small. You can buy a fraction of this digital bond because everything is digital now. So meaning that you can buy 1,000 baht or worth of digital bond, you can buy 100 baht worth of digital bonds. You don't need to have 100 million, 200 million ticket size like in the past. So this is a second phase that we did for in Thailand, right? And the third phase that the Bank of Thailand did was, I think, a few months ago. They did a project with the Central Bank of Hong Kong. So in Thailand, we call the project Internon, right? But in Hong Kong, they call their project Lion Rock, named after the famous venue of each country. and they're connecting between the two, using the blockchain to connect between the two central banks to make sure that we can transfer cross-border transactions, international transfer within the two countries using the blockchain technology. But this is a B2B transaction. This is not B2C. So only big banks are joining the network
Thailand and
to
Hong
remit
Kong
the funds.
banks. You're talking about Thailand and Hong Kong banks, right? B2B.
Yes, it's the initiative from our Bank of Thailand with the the Hong Kong Central Bank. But they will open this pipeline for commercial banks in Thailand and in Hong Kong to join. So different banks in Thailand and different banks in Hong Kong can remit money between each other in a frictionless manner using the blockchain technology. But this
What's
is
the
limited.
schedule? When they have started or when they're going to do it?
So they have finished the POC, proof of concept, already, but this is not live in production yet. So I think it will take some more time for them to test out this product for stability, for security, and I think off until this is fully launched publicly. But this service is very limited to just commercial banks, right? Normal retailers, retail customers cannot get on this blockchain.
So that the third
The
is
fourth,
what the Thailand is doing, right? What about the final phase so far?
sure. So the final phase is where the central bank is trying to or block the retail part of the economy. So they're trying to exploring the retail central bank digital currency, just like what China has been doing with the yuan, or what Libra has been doing with the US government. So this is where Bank of Thailand can create digital currency instead of creating paper money. And if we can launch this, we can solve the stimulus package bailout issues very effectively. Imagine if COVID is to happen in 5 years from now, and we have this digital currency in place. The government it would take the government a few minutes to distribute funds to those who really need the subsidiaries government.
So regarding today's COVID-19 pandemic bailout for the people in general and for the business in particular, so this kind of technology is still being experimented and studied, right?
Yes. So I don't think any countries have fully launched the central bank digital currency yet. The most advanced nation, I would say, would be China. They're way ahead of other central banks. They have been secretly studying, researching this cryptocurrency retail central bank digital currency project since 2016. So it's been 4 years for them already. Secret studying on this project.
Can you talk more about the digital yuan that the Chinese are using now in China for Chinese provinces? So they're giving subsidy money to Chinese salary worker, right? And now they can use the yuan in the digital form to buy things online via the Alipay, Alibaba, or WeChat, Tencent application. That's the case happening now, right?
Yes. So a few weeks ago, there's a photo leaked on the internet with the interface of this digital yuan created by the People's Bank of China, which is a government a bank, and currently they are rolling out internal tests within just 4 provinces: Shenzhen, Suzhou, Xiong'an, and Chengdu. Only these 4 provinces. It's not a nationwide product yet.
Mhm.
So meaning that people in Beijing, people in Shanghai cannot get on this app. Only these 4 provinces. And they have invited, I would say they have asked uh, 19 companies to join on their beta test. And within these companies, they're huge companies like Starbucks, McDonald's, and financials, Tencent, WeChat, Alipay, JD. These are 19 big companies in China, together with 4 state-owned commercial banks.
Mhm.
They came together to test this digital yuan project.
Mhm.
And in one of the provinces, they even gave out salary, 50% of, I think it was in Suzhou in May, that they will give transport workers 50% of their salary in tokens, in the digital yuan format. And I think the trialing is said to last between 6 to 12 months. So they're still in the beta testing phase. This is not a production, fully live production phase yet. And people in Thailand cannot get on this app yet. Only 4 provinces in China that they are doing the testing with 19 biggest companies in China.
On top,
And
what Thailand can learn, what Thai authorities can learn from the Chinese experiment on this thing?
I would say that the Bank of Thailand has to act very quickly. I mean, our Bank of Thailand is very conservative, which is good and also bad. Which is good and bad, because back in the last Asian crisis in 1997, the Bank of Thailand became very conservative after that crisis. And if you look at the debt to GDP ratio for Thailand, we're doing great. We're a very healthy economy compared to, if you compare our debt to GDP ratio to those of the US or those of the European countries, we're doing much better, right, as a country. Meaning that during this time when the government needs to bail out companies level or bail out people by printing out money injecting money into our economy, we can actually borrow from the IMF, borrow from other countries, because our debt to GDP ratio is not that bad yet, right? We are a healthy economy. So the governments can borrow funds quickly and inject the capital to make sure that SMEs have enough runway to survive until we discover the vaccination, right? Long enough so that there's no interruption in the supply chain, which accounts for 90% of the supply chain in our economy or the unemployment. So this is a good thing. That the Bank of Thailand is very conservative, but the Bank of Thailand, by being conservative, is also backfired. It also damaged the country, because imagine if China is moving really fast with their digital yuan. There is this Chinese Belt and Road initiatives, right?
Yes.
One Belt, One Road initiatives that potentially targeting 70 countries. And if they fully launch the digital yuan and people get on this app and use digital yuan, Bank of Thailand could potentially lose the ability to control the inflation or the interest rates within the country, because everyone is using digital yuan to transact, to do commerce, right? It creates a frictionless commerce, ability. So people will move on and get on the digital yuan platform. And eventually the Bank of Thailand would lose this ability to control inflation or interest rates or capital outflow, inflow of the country. So I would urge the Bank of Thailand to act quickly and create a national baht digital currency soon.
Could talk how soon you think the digital yuan will be practical?
So the bank, sure. So I think the Bank of China said they will launch the digital yuan in 2022 Olympics game in China. So in 2 years, fully launch on the Olympics game in the year 2022. China is moving much faster than we think because
Yeah.
because
Could be
there's no
ahead of schedule.
could be ahead of schedule. Unlike Libra, people are still fighting over this project and arguing with this project.
And
Lobbying everywhere. China, they're like ordering this down. We need to be the leader in the blockchain system, and they're
and
moving.
could talk regarding the the soft loans for Thai SME. You think how soon the government can distribute the money to businesses hit hard by the pandemic in Thailand?
Sure. I would urge the Bank of Thailand to do this as soon as possible. Within a few months, most of the SMEs will run out of cash. And not just SMEs, the people will be running out of cash soon because millions of people lost their jobs
Yes.
because of the interruptions in the supply chain, right? Because of the shutdown. And this will create, riots or protests.
We
And
already
this,
seen at the finance ministry offices on TV, right?
yes, so people are complaining, right? They all came to the Ministry of Finance and protest. I should be the one getting the 5,000 baht, but why did you not give me? You gave someone else who didn't really deserve the funds because completely, the system is not ready for Thailand to distribute the funds effectively. So we need to be quick, nimble, and not very bureaucratic. Speed matters. There are plenty of scenarios where policy response could be inefficient or too slow or too bureaucratic, and this triggers a very long recession, if not a depression. But we need, if we act quickly, we could recover from this crisis. With the economy stopped, that causes other types of hardships. The longer we shut down the economy, and we need to have enough capital to make sure that SMEs have enough runway, and people can afford to live long enough until we discover the vaccines, right? Finance can only cure finance. Finance cannot cure the biological problem. So we need to discover, a way to fix this health crisis as soon as possible. Also.
Could talk on the bailout issue for the average people and for businesses. What kind of technology is being used by Thai government, and what improvement they should do to be more efficient, to be more speedy?
Sure. I think right now the mobile banking applications in Thailand has gone out a lot since this COVID crisis. A lot of people are getting online, and commercial banks see rise in the usage of
Yeah.
right. On average, the mobile phone penetration is 144%, meaning that for every one person, we have an average of 1.4 phones per person. We are more, and also with the internet access, right now 57 million people has access to the internet, which accounts for about around 82% of the economy. So we are doing a very good job at providing internet access and mobile phone device. And we're social media users also. 49 million people out of 70 million people have their social media accounts, which accounts for 71% penetration. And government is trying to tap on this existing infrastructure to provide funds quickly, right? Via PromptPay, technology or mobile banking applications. And I would say commercial banks in Thailand are doing a very good job at providing bank accounts for the Thai people. The banking penetration in Thailand is around 72%, which is second highest in this region. The best performers in this region is Singapore. Singapore is number one, at providing bank accounts to their people. They're at 98%. For us, we are at 72%, which is the second highest in this region. Third is Malaysia, 66% bank penetration. We're not doing so great in terms of credit card penetration. We're penetration. Singapore is number one in the region, 37% credit card penetration, meaning that people cannot get access to funding, but they have access to bank accounts. So government can provide funds to those with the bank accounts, but those without the bank accounts, we call it the underbanked, they need to line up on the street to get this cash, right? Because we're still using paper money. If the government puts on digital currencies, these people can get their funds quickly without, regardless of whether they have a bank account or not. They could be using Line, they could be using M-Pay, they could be using True Money, and they can get the the funds, bailout funds quickly from the government without the need of having a bank account, right? So I think this is the next.
Could Top, what are the technology issues for bailing out businesses, big businesses and SMEs?
Sure. I think a great example is there's a company called My Bank in China. They've been around for 4 or 5 years, and this bank already has over 100 million customers. And I think this is one of the banks under Jack Ma, the Alibaba founder. Right? Within My Bank, they can deploy loans within 3 seconds. For us, it will take a few months for the banks to manually assess the risk, to study the company, do the due diligence. But for My Bank, it took them 3 seconds to release the loans, and a total of 0 employees. They don't need to employ any workers, and they can deploy them within 3 seconds. And I think the failure rate is only 3% failure rate. Oh, sorry, 1.7% failure rate. So the margin of error is very small. They're using, and the reason is because they're using a few technology. They're using AI to process the data, to assess the risk of the people. They're using big data, right? Big data for, gathering as much information as possible, right? Traditional data and non-traditional data from the internet. And they can use this big data and AI to analyze the risk. And within 3 seconds, they can deploy the funds to companies using 0 employees very quickly. If this technology is ready for Thailand, governments can bail out SMEs within 3 seconds, right? And the margin of error would be down to 1.7%.
So any efforts to do similar things in Thailand?
I think I would have to say that, K-Bank and SCB are the 2 banks that are moving really fast in terms of, innovation and disrupting themselves. They set up they spin off a technology arm under their company to innovate new technology for the firm, and I think we're moving towards that direction. But Thailand is a very small country, a country of around 70 million population. The environment doesn't force us to build, to test us on the scalable technology yet. Unlike China, they're a country of almost 2 billion people. Their engineers, must be able to handle those scalability issues, because there's so many people, using their system concurrently, at the same time. Almost 2 billion. For us, it's like one province in China, 70 million people. we haven't got the environment necessary to force our engineers to build out scalable technology yet. So I think this is another challenge for us to go for the next step.
So, Kun Top, you mentioned K-Bank and Siam Commercial Bank, SCB. So, their applications, anything comparable to my bank yet, or still take time for them to develop?
It's quite some time away from the Chinese bank. It would take, I think we're a few years away from that. We need to move faster. I think the best way to do this is to try to use this spillover technology. We need to solve the talents. Currently, we need to fix the immigration law. Right now, when a company needs to hire a foreign worker, we need to have at least 2 million baht capitalization per one foreign worker, right? And we need to employ 4. This creates bringing in smart for us as a nation. If we can improve, lift off this work permit restrictions, we can invite, smart people to come in and help move things faster for Thailand. And local Thai, they can learn from those foreign, employees. There will be spillover knowledge, spillover technology. It would shorten the time span for us to go to catch up with China.
So
but we need to, at the government.
You're talking about post-COVID, post-pandemic, right? Maybe not now. About inviting foreign workers to work here.
Yes, so this could be a post-COVID action, but there are quite a few things that the government needs to revise. The regulations are so out of date compared to the technology world. There's so many things that we need to fix. For example, this minute of meeting restriction or law, right? It requires us to meet face to face for this meeting to be legitimate, right? But how do we meet face to face in times of COVID? Right? It's not effective. So they need to launch this, e-meeting requirements that this is sufficient, this is legitimate now, right? They need to fix up the regulation on this issue. There are so many restrictions that we need to lift because the world is moving much faster than the previous generation, and we cannot move at the same rate.
Yeah, Kun Top, I think many people talk about the new normal, and in your opinion, what the new normal is like? First, for the people in general, the salary worker, and secondly, what does it mean for businesses, big and small? Please, the new normal.
Sure. If you noticed, when the COVID crisis hits us, companies with digital strategies are less affected by the crisis than companies without digital strategies. So it is very important that we go fully digital as a company, right? As an organization, even at the government level, at the private level, or even at the employees level. We need to learn new skills. There's a new consumption pattern being formed. So, entrepreneurs, business owners must be able to spot new consumption habits, consumption trends, right? Look what people need help with, so they can pivot. So we can pivot our business model quickly. We can help customers and they can help us in times of crisis if we can pivot the business model quickly. So we need to be able to adapt to the new normal and spot new consumption trend being formed in this crisis. For one thing, obviously, there's an upcoming trend of what we call the low touch economy, meaning that people would be isolating themselves more. Sharing economy won't be as popular because people are paranoid about getting affected, even post-COVID. Right? Things like co-working co-working space would no longer be. People would prefer private offices, right? Things like car sharing, anything with the sharing economy would get affected for sure, because people would become more conservative, and there will be a rise in the low touch economy. We must be able to deliver our services online, our products online, or within a distance, keeping social distancing in place. So that's for sure we become a new normal for some time, until we fix this biological crisis. If you see the Wuhan province in China, they're back on their feet. They're reopening up their economy. But if you see the restaurants, no one is still eating out in a restaurant, because they're still scared. They're still afraid of getting infected. And there are a lot less people going and eat in a restaurant, or even if those that came and eat in a restaurant, there is a clear section separating peoples between tables. So there's a rise in the low touch economy for sure, and more companies would go fully digital. More and more companies. We call it forced disruption. There are other ideas and services that within the companies, people have been pushing for quite some time. For example, going on clouds versus private server, right? It may take a company a few years to convince the management, or the board of directors, the CEOs. With this COVID, it creates forced disruption. The management would be approving
very
this
fast.
cloud right away, right? Or even
you're coming back. Going online education, you said the pandemic forced many things, including education, to go online. Please continue.
Sure. So even universities or school, they are opening up soon for the students to start their semesters, term time. But we haven't fixed this biological crisis yet. So there will be a rise in online learning, online education, online conferencing, for sure. This is going to become a new normal, right? People will get used to learning things online, interacting with professors, lecturers online, and this is going to be it will change the way we learn things in the future, or even the delivery industry. There's a rise in e-commerce actions in Thailand. People are starting to trust e-commerce platform more. People start to order things online, get their services done online, get their products done online more and more. So it is very important for companies to spot the new consumption habits, because this crisis is going to be longer than 30 days, and if people do this same thing for 30 days, it will become a habit for the customers to go online. So business needs to go online, and the digital economy will be much larger. This is a forced disruption.
So you are saying, like many other people, that this is probably the biggest disruptor. I mean, the disease, the virus, is the biggest force for people to change to online and digital way of life and way of doing business, right?
Yes. So this is a big disruption for people across different levels. We haven't seen anything happens every 100 years. The Spanish flu, people aware that it is important to have this pandemic prevention and resources went into this pandemic prevention. But after a while, we seem to forget the importance of this, and resources are being allocated to other industries. It's been 100 years. So when another pandemic arrives, we're not fully ready. As a nation, as a country, everywhere around the world, and this creates panics and disruptions across different levels. So we are not fully prepared yet as a nation. And sure.
Yeah. So Top, my final question is, what your advice on the first relaxation of lockdown in Thailand? Maybe in a couple minutes, can you summarize for our audience your observation, please?
Sure. If you look at the Spanish flu in 1929, I think Philadelphia is a province in the US. They shut their economy down very quickly to prevent the but once they reopened their economy, came up the number. So I foresee in the short term there'll be a rise in numbers again, but not as as bad as in previous months. But if you look at the post-COVID economy, personally, I am very positive because the U.S. government, they just signed $2 trillion stimulus bill at the end of March. They are injecting a lot of money into the economy, much more than 2008, when the government was bailing out banks in 2008. Even though our economy now is 50% larger today than it was in 2008, we are printing out way more money, right? I think Germany's aid package is about 20% of their GDP, almost double the size of the US. So once we found, once we find the vaccination or how to fix this health crisis, there'll be much more money, in circulation, and the economy would recover like a rocket ship, just like 2008. Post 2008, the economy recovered like a rocket ship. In the last 10 years, we saw prosperities everywhere, right? So within this, post-COVID economy, would see the same large. The amount of money injected is way larger than what we did in 2008, what the government did in 2008. There'll be more money in circulation, and there'll be a rocket ship recovery, and there will be prosperities everywhere. So I think it's very important not to let people go, because once the economy is on its feet, you can service customers right away. You don't need to start from zero again. So I think hang in there. Usually within 6 months to 1 year, we would discover the vaccines. Right now, the technology or the communication is so advanced around the world now. So we can communicate effectively with the technology. We may be able to discover vaccination much faster than the previous generation, and the economy might get back on its feet much faster with a lot more money in circulation. So I am personally very positive post-COVID.
So, Khun Top, thank you for your optimistic conclusion that give a lot of hopes to many people that the recovery will be quite significant, like a V shape, right? Some people would have said that due to a lot of injections of liquidity into the Thai economy, the global economies. So thank you for your time, Khun Top, about your comments, ideas, and advice on the first relaxation of lockdown in Thailand. So Thailand is going back to business. Our economy reopens and business going to restart this Sunday. So this is our first part of a series on Thailand restarting for business, and we hope to talk to you again another time on this. And thank you again from thailandtoday.co and Tech to Thai website. Bye bye. Good talk. Thank you.
มันจะมี stop recording